It's 2026, and if you are still the bottleneck in your business, you're doing it the hard way. I'm Joe Fier. I'm back here with Scott Duffy, my business partner, and we're going to continue pulling back the curtain on what AI cloning is, what's actually working, what's not working, and how clones are currently changing the way that founders, creators, and entrepreneurs are scaling their time, their sales, support, and overall impact. Our company is called thecloneshop.ai. It's where we've built hundreds of these already. They're digital versions of entrepreneurs that are helping to handle all these repeat conversations or even unique ones that don't involve the physical version of you. So you could stay focused on the work that only the real you can do. So in this episode, we're going to break down a bunch of real use cases that you can see in action right now, fast ROI plays, and how you can start cloning yourself the smart way. Let's dive into it.
All right, so we're doing this. We're doing this. Everybody, hey, welcome to The Clone Shop. I'm Scott Duffy, and this is my partner, Joe Fier. What's up, Joe?
Yeah, how you doing, man? Yeah.
Oh, I'm doing good. So, I'm excited to be kicking the year off with this concept, this idea of The Clone Shop. It's an extension of what we've been doing for the last couple of years.
It's true.
And can you kind of share with people what is the Clone Shop? Is a business, is like a content and educator? What are we doing here?
Yeah, so the Clone Shop is this kind of, it's like a reinvention of what we've been doing for the last 2-3 years. And the idea here is that the Clone Shop, we are focused on helping anyone who has this bottled up knowledge, like that. And all the way from people who are creators who are actively putting, content out into the world and then doing something behind the content, like what's the next step? Or it could be a business owner who wants to connect with more people, but maybe they're drowning in messages or phone calls or bookings, and they're just like, I can't actually connect and go deeper like I want to. What we're doing is we're working with these types of folks that essentially want to connect and scale themselves. They want to scale their time and scale their knowledge, but also connect with people in a deeper way where it increases engagement through this new form of media, which is AI cloning or a digital twin kind of concept. And so what we do is we work with these folks, we create the strategy. First of all, we're educating. So we want to put a lot more education out there as the Clone Shop. That's what we're starting to do right now here. And this is like ground floor 2026 is let's talk about what cloning is. So we're putting that kind of flag in the sand there for us, or for everybody. But then what we do is we work one-on-one with these folks who want the strategy and figure out, okay, where is the bottleneck maybe in someone's business right now or in their lives? What's this concept of like a knowledge tax I've been kind of starting to think about is like, what's that annual tax that we pay for all the time that we're spending doing repetitive stuff? We're maybe just whatever it is, either on the public side of things through lead generation, through delivering content to our clients, our community, our teams, operations, support, all of these things. And there's even more. What we do is we try to help visualize all of that for folks and then show them how there's technology now. And we love the Delphi.ai platform to actually do this kind of, the legwork. We'll talk about what that is. But as a Clone Shop, at the Clone Shop, what we do as a team is we make this easy. It's a white glove hand-holding process where we literally are getting to know you and your company and your big vision in the bottlenecks. And then we map out, all right, here's your roadmap. Where do we start, but where can we progress? And we are the ones that are then building these clones using the platform Delphi. We're building it in how the thing speaks to the world, using someone's voice, their personality, the way they talk and write. All that stuff translates to this new form of media, which is cloning. And that's why we're so excited, because that can now help you expand your time and release the bottlenecks so you're connecting with more people. And then there's automations, so we're helping optimize and automate, portions to increase engagement. That's really the big idea, because when you have more engagement, as we all know, then those are the hottest leads that can pop up. They're almost pre-qualifying themselves, It can help connect with clients so your churn goes down and your ROI and value go up, and word of mouth, all that stuff. your team is released from doing these maybe repetitive things that, in support, customer service, all the way to ops and content creation. There's all these things. So we're the team that basically has been doing it in the trenches, over 300 clones created. And we're literally like, come to us for that because it is this wild, wild west right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's really the thing is you and I have been doing this for over 2 years now, and we work with the number one clone provider, clone platform in the world, Delphi, who's backed by Sequoia and Menlo and Anthropic, and they're just an incredible company. And we build clones for literally some of the biggest business and personal brands in the world, and have this knowledge. And I think what's happened is over the past, particularly the last 6 months, it's like there's something in the water.
Yeah.
And we get so much inbound from people asking, like, what is a clone? How can a clone help me? What's the difference between going to Delphi, as an example, or going to HeyGen? Like, can you just help me to understand what this market is all about? And then once we do and we start working with them, they start asking questions like, how can I use this to eliminate redundant tasks? How can I use this to help increase my reach? How can I use this to help increase my revenue without spending any additional time on my business? And that's exactly what we've been doing. Again, for the last 2 years, hundreds of clients. And so what we thought we should do is just start to share that knowledge, because we don't see anybody else out there that's really doing a good job of that. And so you're going to be able to come here every single day, and you're going to be able to hear us talk about one thing each day you can do to help broaden your understanding of what a clone is and how it can work for you. We're going to show you use cases. Joe is like the number one builder on the planet of clones. He's used all the different technologies. He's gone through all like the hard knocks, done it all for you. And what Joe's going to do is he's going to show you actual case studies of clones that he's built. So he can not only show you the most powerful ways that you can build a clone to get the results that you want, but then he'll show you examples of use cases and how clones are being used in sales departments, marketing departments, for operations, for human resources, for coaches, which has been like a huge use case for us, for religious institutions and churches and pastors all over the world. So we're really excited to take all of this experience and to share it with you and to do it on a regular basis. And we love to make this a dialogue. And so a two-way dialogue. So, if you're experiencing, like, you're working with a clone, you built a clone, you're thinking about it, you have questions, please drop into the comments and let us know what's up, because we want to learn from your experience and we want to share ours with all of you. And so, I just think that we're really excited about this. Again, our company is the Clone Shop. We're at thecloneshop.ai is where you can find us. And we'll be here every single day with our show, The Clone Shop, to help educate all of you about, what it is that we've learned.
I'm excited, man. Yeah. And I feel like this is going to be a time to demystify a lot of what this technology is, or even bring it onto your radar if you haven't thought of even what a clone is. So like, we'll definitely dive into all the nuances. What are these other technologies that might be clone related, but there's different flavors, and we'll kind of describe what that is in more of these shows that you'll see popping up. Yeah. Cause daily, that's the whole thing, is like, all of us need this in our lives. And I feel like this is the biggest untapped thing in 2026. I mean, it's literally just a couple days in at the time of this recording. But the idea is, like, this is something that every business owner will want this year or soon after. And it's early. So this is your time to jump in right now.
Yeah. So maybe today what we do is we start by just going through the fundamentals.
Yeah.
And Joe, I love to ask you some questions, and maybe you can just, again, share based on your experience with the audience, everything from definitions to difference between competitors and, what you need to get started building a clone. So I think my first question for you is, what is a clone?
Yeah.
And like, how does it work?
That's probably that's a good place to start. Like, what the heck is a clone?
Yeah.
Surely most people have probably heard AI clone, and you probably have a picture of what that might be. And I would say the most common one, as we're talking with people, The question is, okay, well, I've used Chat GPT,
Yeah.
and I have a custom GPT. So that is a form of a clone. It's a way to scale yourself, and it's great. It's probably the most rudimentary way, but that's fine because, yeah,
And so kind of like to piggyback on that,
yeah,
this idea of a clone is that you basically would take your content, you take your knowledge, and you would upload it to an AI tool,
yeah,
and then that AI tool would be able to act is kind of like a digital twin of yours would be the idea.
right,
So going into ChatGPT, as an example, some of you may have built a custom GPT
hmm,
and uploaded a book or uploaded your HR documents and things like that. And then what you do is you make it available to people so that they can go in and they can ask a question of the custom GPT and be able to have that custom GPT answer theoretically in the same way that you would.
that's right, yeah,
And there's all kinds of clones out there, right? So you've got from ChatGPT to HeyGen
agent, different type,
to
yep,
Delphi,
yep.
who's our partner, who's just amazing. What is the difference between like a ChatGPT clone versus a HeyGen clone versus a Delphi clone?
Yeah, great question because those are all the most common ones that come to
Yeah,
mind. ChatGPT, HeyGen, and Delphi.
yeah,
So I'll just say ChatGPT since we're already there, starting there.
yeah.
It's very simple. Yeah, you can upload documents that support whatever use case you're going after. If it's internal use cases, cool. Yeah, your
Mhm.
HR docs, SOPs, things like that. ChatGPT will limit you on the amount of files you can upload. I don't know if it's about 25 files right now or so, and there's ways to hack it to, expand all that. But the thing that is going to lack on the Chat GPT side is the ability to use that as a tool that you can embed on your website, either externally, internally. It's not going to know your voice, so your actual speaking voice. It's not going to be able to replicate your personality and
Mhm.
how you think because that's what we're trying to accomplish with the clone. It's not ChatGPT is going to assume a lot of stuff. We'll just say that it's going to try to fill in gaps that are not from your mind or from your company's IP. It's going to fill in gaps from the web. It's literally going to go out there and try to, and this is where hallucinations come in. It
Mhm.
might give you false information. So, you sure as heck will probably see a lot. If you go to ChatGPT, you can find a whole bunch of creators out there. Like there's an Alex Hermosi GPT. There's a Tony Rock. I mean, there's like literally any creator you could think of. Someone's cloned them in the best that they can. Maybe it's based on their books or whatever, or YouTube videos. But that's not going to be a true representation of that person or you. Like, I wouldn't want to
Yeah.
trust the internet to come up with how I think,
Well,
So,
yeah, and on top of that, what you just said, like there's Alex Hormozy is a great example. The thing about a tool like a ChatGPT is anyone can take your content and they can upload your content and they can create a clone out of you
that's
or
right.
your content. And a great example is Alex Hormozy. Someone mentioned to me about a week ago that there was a really cool Alex Hormozy clone
Hmm.
that was available on ChatGPT. So I went to the GPT store and I entered Alex Hormozy, and there wasn't one. There were a whole bunch of them,
Yeah.
and none of them, the creator on none of them was Alex. And so, I think that there's also this issue when you're using a foundational model like a chat GPT that your data is not going to be secure,
Right.
that anyone can get in there and try and duplicate you or spoof you. And so for me, when I think about cloning, if there were kind of like three different types of clones and one that we're talking about today, and one is based on a foundational or built on a foundational model, that is the one I would stay the furthest away from.
That's right.
That's the one that scares me the most. And unfortunately, I think there's a lot of consultants and independent contractors out there that are taking courses. They're learning how to build clones in this way, but they don't necessarily understand all of the issues.
That's right. And let's bookmark the issues category
Yeah,
because that's
yeah.
a very common one.
Hmm.
Sometimes, depends on who's coming in. Like some people are very worried about content and data security. Other people are just like, they're not thinking that way yet, but it
Yeah.
does come up. So yeah, ChatGPT, just know that your stuff's getting trained, like it's being shared with everyone. It's not locked down. Anybody can essentially take that clone, even look at the instructions, like how you built it, You cannot embed it anywhere. You don't have flexibility to opt people in to have a full-on experience. So we'll just leave it there for ChatGPT. That's one
Cool.
form of the clone. The other one you mentioned, HeyGen.
Yeah.
So awesome tool,
It's
but
awesome.
different use case. It's totally different. So when
Mhm.
people think of cloning, I think a lot of people will immediately think of a video avatar. They're thinking of the AI influencer on Instagram or TikTok, or YouTube now. And there's a time and place for them. Uh, I'm not always a fan of like I don't know. There's a whole bunch of ways to present an AI clone and use it in your marketing. But the point is, HeyGen, it's scripted. It's not backed by your full body of knowledge, your IP, your personality. You're literally providing it it's training your visual, so your likeness in that way, and you have to say, okay, yeah, you can clone me and all that.
Mhm.
But now it's going to get the way that you look and your voice, but then you have to feed it a script or multiple
Mhm.
scripts.
Yeah.
And the end result looks great because then it basically, HeyGen, what it's doing is rendering all of that and then giving you a way to share that with the world. And it looks and sounds great, but again, it is a clone, but it's a very structured, scripted clone. Delphi on the other side of things, their platform is purely unscripted. So that means you can load up millions of words of content. Like I looked at my clone earlier, it's 17 million words in. I'm like, I think it's probably too many words. I got to trim some back. But most people clones that we work with are probably about the 1 to 2 million word average, but there's a lot less. You don't need to have that much body of work, loaded in. But the idea is that HeyGen, you don't have that ability. You cannot do that where you have this live clone that's basically creating a new conversation for each person that chats with
Right.
it. It's just talking at people.
And I think just to kind of circle back on those two, Joe, you've got, really it's the battle between scripted and unscripted. So
That's it.
with a scripted clone, just like you were saying with HeyGen, what are you going to do? You're going to go to their service and you're going to upload a video sample, you're going to
Hmm.
upload an audio sample, and you'll type out either in the tool or you'll upload a script. And let's say that script is a 2 or 3 minute sales pitch. Like that's a great application, right?
Yeah.
That's what, if someone is running these kind of like sales letters and things like that, it is a really great application. But let's say that you're a coach, or let's say you're an HR department,
Mm.
and you want to be able to answer any question that anybody has in real time from your body of knowledge. The only way that you can do that is to upload all of your content, all of your data, and train the model in an unscripted clone. And so again, it's not working off a script. You pull up the clone, and anything that you ask, it will search only within that body of data that you've uploaded, and it will answer as if it were you. And what's really cool about and the number one player in the unscripted space, the number one tool is Delphi. And one of the things that's really awesome about Delphi is that it will get to know your voice, your style, your brand. It will answer a question and it will speak as if it's you.
Yeah.
And we have examples over the coming days and months and things like that. Joe's going to share examples of clones that he's built, which are absolutely phenomenal. You cannot tell the difference in the sound of the voice or the style or the tempo of some of the clones that Joe has built using the Delphi platform. And the other thing that I love about unscripted clones, and Joe, maybe you can talk more about this, is let's say, for example, I use this example of HR departments a lot because it's a real common use case right now.
Yeah.
An HR department will go in and they'll load all of their systems, manuals, procedures, just all of their human resources materials. And then what they'll do is they'll create an HR clone manager. And someone in the company will go to the HR clone manager, which they can find on the company's internal website. And then they'll ask it a question like, what's our vacation policy? And you won't only get the answer, but you'll get a link to the actual form that you need to fill out to take a vacation. If you're a coach, on the other hand, someone may come to you. You've uploaded your books and you've uploaded all of your social media content and you've uploaded all of your speeches and presentations. and someone will ask you a question and it will answer for you. Delphi will answer that question, and it can provide a link to wherever that content came from. So it can refer the person to a link to buy your book or to buy something at your next mastermind, which is really cool.
Yeah. So I'll speak on that a little bit. Is a good frame I like to say when we're describing this concept to folks, because it's truly this. This is why I love that we're doing this and putting it out here. Is a lot of it's education when we first talk with someone. It's describing what the difference of these clones are, but also what's this journey now that you can create for your people, depending on where this is going to live, the use case or the style of clone. So exactly what you just said. What we like to do is define, all right, what's the biggest bottleneck? And let's say if it's internal ops or team, they're just doing repetitive stuff. And you can see like, okay, we're spending a lot of time and a lot of money doing these things. Well, cool. Let's solve that with a clone. So let's figure out what are the materials that are involved with that operation. And also who's the person, because we got a big thing with Delphi, which I appreciate, is that there's no fictitious people made on the Delphi platform. We're not cloning some made up AI avatar or not even an organization as a whole. It's a person, because the whole idea here is that
a verified person.
A verified person, yeah. So there's a whole process to it, and that's a huge differentiator, because it literally shows, okay, someone has done the time to accumulate all this knowledge. They have the ownership of that material. It's been verified by the platform. And, inside of a company, it might be, your HR manager, it could be your CEO, whoever it is. So we want to have all that material. We always try to gather all of that. And in Delphi, we can literally upload any kind of text, audio, video, and there's a whole bunch of other things we could put in there too that we support, we help with. But the idea is, if that's all in there, then what we do is we layer in these instructions behind the scenes to create a journey. So this conversation, people can have a text or an audio conversation with a clone. So your clone, it's going to write like you write and speak like you speak, because it's mimicking this whole speaking and writing pattern. There's all these patterns are basically written out inside the platform. So you can be confident and know, all right, well, someone on my team, if they start to chat with my clone at any time of the day, no matter what's going on, they can have a chat and ask a question. It's going to represent me as I want to be represented. And there's all these checks and, there's things that we do and work with folks to refine that. But then at the same time, we're creating a journey. So like, what's the best outcome of this use case that we're putting out there? Or maybe a series of outcomes. We can create conditions. So based on like, if they ask for something, what's the kind of answer, and what's maybe a URL or next action we want them to take?
So we talked about a foundational model like a ChatGPT clone. We talked about a scripted clone like HeyGen, where you provided a video sample, audio sample, and then you give it a script and it trains off the script. And then we've talked about unscripted clones, the leader being Delphi, and how you can upload all of your content without limit. And the model will train on your content and answer in your brand, your style, your tone, all of that kind of stuff. Now, what happens if somebody asks a question that the model hasn't been trained on?
Yeah.
You haven't provided content to answer. Does it go outside to like ChatGPT or Grok or something and try and find an answer? Or how do you handle that?
Yeah. So what's really unique with the platform Delphi that we chose, and we can even talk about the story of why we're using Delphi. But the idea is that you have the ability to give it some limits, but the idea it's not going out to the web, and it's not like ChatGPT or any of these other ones. It's not trying to make stuff up. So there are alerts that could be set up if there's a question that cannot be answered by the system. And that basically will be sent to you and your team, whoever's on the account, that says, hey, this person needs a little extra help. The Delphi or the clone could not answer this. So that's an easy way to tell us and the clone person to say like, hey, let's just put a little bit of extra content in here to answer that, whatever that thing was. And there's a few ways that we go about doing that. Is you could literally upload more content to support whatever that topic was. And That's easy enough. Yeah. There's also this really cool interview mode that just rolled out in Delphi where you can have a back and forth exchange based on a whole bunch of different topics
Mhm.
that the system anticipates people will ask based on what it knows about you.
Yeah.
So
It's really cool. That's a new feature. It's really cool.
it's
Yeah.
amazing. I was just
Yeah.
chatting with a client yesterday that said he spent 2 hours going through that and it was effortless because it's kind of like this, like,
Mhm.
we're fielding questions back and forth, and then you just give it your natural answer. You can use audio or text, whatever flows out. I love audio, whisper flow. And
Mhm.
I just talk it out. And it's such an amazing natural way. You can go on a walk and do this. And then
Mhm.
sooner or later, you realize, okay, I just fed my digital mind with all of this new insight.
Yeah.
And what it's going to do, the system trains your mind instantly,
Yeah.
pretty much instantly. And then you can be confident to know that the system's smart enough to know context, like based on a conversation and what you've given the mind, it can connect the dots really well and personalize it along the way. So it's a total game changer. And yeah, ChatGPT, no, you cannot do that. And HeyGen, obviously, like we said, that's scripted, so it's not even in the
It's
same
just a different
ballpark.
use case.
Totally.
Really,
Yeah.
really awesome product, just different use case.
Right. Right. Right.
The other, by the way, one of the things that I loved is when you originally set up my clone,
Hmm.
when people have asked me questions that, and by the way, so I trained my clone on, I think 4 books on, zillions of years of social media and like thousands of posts. I uploaded all of my events that I hosted, all of the
Yeah.
video from all the events. So I have like all this content, but every once in a while, I still get a question. Like, I sometimes I think people just want to mess with it and see how far they can take. Where
Absolutely.
did you go on your last vacation?
Yeah.
What's your favorite color? Stuff like that. Anyway, so that stuff does come across, at least for me from time to time. But what I'll do is I'll get an email, and it will just say, hey, the person asked this question hasn't been trained on this answer. All I have to do is hit reply,
Mm.
put the answer in, and it trains the model.
That's true. That's
It
one way
is
too. Yeah.
so simple. It's
Yeah.
so cool and it's so simple, and it requires so little work on my end. Joe, I think another thing that comes up a lot when we talk to people about cloning is this idea of how safe is your data,
Yeah.
and particularly in the context of if you are, let's say, a coach or a consultant, and you have a lot of books out there, you have a lot of IP that you've created, and you don't want ChatGPT to train on it. Although if it's already on the internet, the odds are ChatGPT's trained on it,
Mm.
right? If you are a company and you have, going back to health, to HR policies and things like that, you don't necessarily want the external AI world to be training on that.
Right. Exactly.
With ChatGPT, there's really nothing you can do. I mean, you can create a custom GPT, and we're told that content is supposed to be kind of living within a wall,
If
right? But
if it's selected, and who knows if how that works. Yeah.
yeah, so we just don't know. And then you have your scripted clones, where I think to some extent your the level of risk is a lot lower, because if you're writing a 3-minute sales script and you're putting up, but if it's all of your content, like, does a company like Delphi use it to train other models, or does it, like, how safe is my data, and where is it being used to train anything else?
Quick answer is no. It's not training anywhere else.
Mhm.
Your data. So with Delphi, and this is a big thing they pride themselves on. There's
Yeah.
docs that explain all of this too. And like we were saying earlier, some people lead with this worry, which is rightly so, because
Mhm.
I think that's on the top of mind for a lot of folks. When, yeah, if you have all this IP out there, you're like, I've spent my life building this, my
Yeah.
thoughts, all that. Like the last thing I want to do is just say, here you go, world, and I get no credit. So
Right.
with Delphi, whenever you upload a file, just know that they're staying within the confines of the platform. It's not training OpenAI, Anthropic, and all these like foundational models
Mhm.
like you mentioned, because those
Yeah.
foundational models are what power Delphi to do its thing, and make sure that contextually everything's working and it helps basically power the brain, but it's not training those models. There's basically if you ever choose to leave the platform, you can delete that. You can export the content. You have full control there. When it's within the platform itself, you have the ability to, like we were talking about, you can have it just look at that content and that content only. So it's siloed from anywhere else. There's no external links that people can download. You have the ability to turn on or off any references, like you were
Yeah.
mentioning. Oh, you could point them to links or source materials, or you can totally turn that off and just know that this thing will communicate based on your content, but it's not going to give all the links to your specific documents if you don't want it to.
Sure.
Data wise, I mean, it's pretty impressive because I don't think there's another tool that lives above that is very clear to show how safe your data is. I
Yeah.
mean, I've not seen any issues of like data issues from the platform itself, none of our clients. And
Mhm.
I think when you realize, okay, you have full control, you hold the keys. It's a completely different ballgame if you were to just go to build something on top of Anthropic or ChatGPT with your own little, I guess I'll say hack job of like, APIs and syncing. I wouldn't feel as comfortable with a setup like that.
Right. And I'll say the other place where I just wouldn't feel comfortable if somebody was building a clone for me is we love our consultants and coaches and things like that are building AI clones, but one thing you just have to be really careful about is what would happen if that person got sick and they built your clone, or they moved, or they got into a different business and there was an issue, there was a problem. Who's gonna service that? Who's gonna support that?
Yeah.
I know one of the things that was really important to you and I when we got started doing this a couple of years ago was we wanted to make sure that we were working with companies because the market is so young, right? It's so, I mean, ChatGPT's only been around for 3 years.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make sure that we were working with companies, we were working with people that were funded, that were venture funded, where we knew the investors, we knew the firms, we knew there was a lot of safety and security there. And so that's another reason why we have been, probably the most passionate advocates on the planet for Delphi. We love the tool because that's just another one of the boxes that it checks. Another question that I get often, I know you do also, is like we've talked about coaches as an example that are uploading lots of books and content and social media and stuff like that. But what if you're just getting started? What if you don't have a lot of content?
Yeah.
Like, how much content do you need to actually take advantage of the benefits of a clone?
Yeah, that's a great one because it's not made just for the people who have millions of words out there who are publishing books like yourself and I'm soon to be putting a new one out. What someone can do, let's say you don't have any published content, you sure as heck have something up here that's stored, or maybe some documents out in your computer. So, I mean, there's a few ways I've been thinking about this. Delphi, to answer the question, there's no set number for like amount of words that you need to have trained up. But I would say like on the low end to get a decent clone, I've seen some success out of like 200,000 or 300,000 words. That's not that much.
So break that down for me. So
Yeah.
to me, is like I'm like a not very tech savvy.
Yeah.
But so like with some of this stuff. So like when I hear words, I think of tokens. Like, and people talk a lot about tokens. Honestly, I have no idea what the hell they're talking about. But like when it comes to words, is that like a book, or is it like a couple of articles, or is it kind of the idea where we're going to help you to leverage the tool that Delphi has built now.
Yeah.
We're going to start you off by having a conversation with that tool.
Yeah.
And you can take that as far as you want to begin the training, and then to supplement it, we need this. What do we need to supplement that?
I think most people have something they start with, like, because we've dealt with a lot of clients that just don't have a lot of stuff, like literally not more than like 10,000 published words. And that might be like a small kind of pamphlet type. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm looking it up right now.
Like a little brochure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what the standard paperback format book is about 200,000 words is a thick book. Usually it clocks in. I mean, that's a big book, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of hours of talking. But the thing is, we all have some type of documents that we've somehow put our knowledge into, and even if it's frameworks and all that stuff, that's all worth uploading. And there's a process we do internally that's, I wouldn't expect everyone else to do, but we do leverage the other AI tools. Like if you had a lot of your own body of work, you can put that into something like Gemini or even ChatGPT. And this is only if you want it to know that
Yeah.
you might be training your stuff there, but it can condense that stuff into more, it's called an artifact basically, where that can now be uploaded to Delphi and give it a decent picture of who you are, what you do. um, I would pair that up with the interview mode in Delphi, like
Yeah.
where literally if you sync up your, let's say some of your social media accounts, like LinkedIn's a good one. If you're active on there,
Mhm.
it'll pull in some of the initial data of the topics you work in, the
Mhm.
fields, and using the interview mode, you can have a 2 hour long dialogue like this client that we just talked with the other day, and that could be enough to just get it going alone. Like
Exactly.
that would just be the foundation. I would not stay there. I would
Yeah.
certainly want to create more content or fill in gaps as they come in. But I mean, off the street, that's what I would do is like load in whatever you have, use Delphi's interview mode to at least have something to start building from. And certainly people can have really interesting conversations. And Delphi, what's so great, and when we're working with folks, is we're keeping an eye on what are these gaps, or what are the FAQs, or even the should ask questions. I always love that, and you can even use Delphi to help you ask those questions. What's kind of cool is you can use the tool
Yeah.
to help it extract more from you, or at least to start thinking like, hey, how else can I serve value in this form of using a clone?
Joe, a question I have is, let's say I have a podcast
Yeah.
and I want the model to train off of my podcast. Is Delphi able to tell the difference between my voice as a
Mm,
speaker and another speaker?
that's
Or
good.
does it think that all of our content is the same and it's coming from me?
No, so this is actually one of the reasons why I chose Delphi like 3 years ago over
Yeah.
any other chat bot or clone. There were no other real clone options actually. So what Delphi does is before you upload any material like a podcast, YouTube video, or any kind of audio, possibly even anything at this point, is we want to train your voice. And what it's going to do is, and this is literally uploading an audio sample. It could be as short as a couple minutes, or it could be longer, 30 minutes plus, to really refine your style. And what that's going to do is it's going to tell the system how you sound. And then it's going to unlock the ability to upload things like podcasts and YouTube and other
Mhm.
content, audio content. And when you upload those files or sync to a podcast or YouTube, it'll pull in all of that data. And what it's going to do is transcribe all of that stuff. But then it starts to identify the different speaker voices right there, and it will know your voice. So it's going to attach you to where you showed up within that piece of content, because it's all identified through the transcription. So it's going to attach Scott to Scott and me to me, and you to you, whoever. So that's how the system more or less is working, and it's pairing, it's matching. But that's what's also unique, which we haven't really talked about, is Delphi has the voice cloning feature where it's a lifelike voice that now can literally be done in real time. It's like picking up the phone and talking
Yeah.
to whoever. I mean, like we love to show off Arnold Schwarzenegger's clone, just because it's one of them that we help build, and his voice is spot on.
It's
And
awesome. It's
we'll,
awesome.
yeah, we'll
Yeah.
do some videos on that. I've published stuff in the past, but it's like, you can, I've chatted with him just to motivate myself. I'm like, I don't want to work out today, Arnold. And he's like, oh, come on. You sissy. You're like, let's go. But
So,
yeah,
so to your point of how you can interact with a Delphi clone,
yeah.
so there's three ways, right? Three primary ways.
Hmm.
So the first is you can have a text conversation with it. So you can go into it and talk to it, and it will respond to you in text. It'll provide links if you want, if the person wants things referenced. So text is number one. Number two is voice. So as those answers are coming from text, you can click a little icon and it will start to speak, and you can have a conversation, and that will happen through voice. The third way is a phone call.
Yeah.
So you can literally click the phone call thingamajigger, the icon, and you can basically have the other side of the clone pick up, and you can have, or your customer or your prospect or your employee can have an ongoing dialogue over the phone with your clone, which is super cool.
Yeah.
Kind of the variety of ways that you're able to interact with it.
What I like about that and what people enjoy as well is now we can connect with people in any kind of modality that they really are comfortable with and that are most natural. Like some people love reading, some people love voice, and those are the two modalities that people love the most. I would say a lot of people go with the voice, but it depends on what you're looking to do. If you're creating content or maybe, any kind of specific wording, then that's where the text option is great. And there's transcriptions for the voice as well, which is nice.
A lot of people ask about video, and they're like, well, why can't I have, video going back and forth? So kind of today where you're not going to see video of an AI clone through ChatGPT or another foundational model. With scripted model programs like a HeyGen, as an example, you can upload video and they will make a video that's tied to your script. In the unscripted space, like with Delphi, you don't really see people that are using video. And one of the reasons why, there's a couple of reasons why, and Joe, just correct me if I'm wrong here, but one of the reasons is video is tough. It's tough because you are basically asking the clone a question, and it's going to go through all of your data, and then it has to assemble that video clone in real time and have that tie and have the voice and the expressions tie to the content and have all that happen in like a fraction of a second. And depending not only on, kind of how that works, but also, what your Wi-Fi connection is and how hard or long it takes to render, video can still be a little bit clunky in the cloning space. But I think more important is the data shows that about 99% of the people, it's an incredibly high number. It's over 90% of people who use these unscripted clones don't use they just don't want the video.
That's right.
They prefer to have a conversation and not necessarily be looking at a video that's rendering on the screen. And so, where I think a lot of people may initially, their first instinct may be, I need video. What the market is dictating is video is not that important, at least for this type of clone.
That's right. And the video right now, and I assure you, I can almost guarantee it will be coming very soon because of just the sheer demand. But as you said, in terms of engagement and the actual experience, it's not something it's not ready for game time. It's not fast. It has a lag. It doesn't feel natural. Whereas when you use the text and the voice, super natural. Like we have a few clients that we've worked with that are very particular about their voice. I mean, it's like kind of like Arnold, that's who he is. Like you hear that voice and immediately, oh, that's spot on. And we have a handful of other clients that we've worked with really closely to make sure we dial that in because of that connection. You still, even though it's obvious it's going to be a clone, it's AI. And, we would never advocate and say dupe people and say this is you, because it's not. But at the same time, the video aspect, I think it's a cool like show and tell thing, but no one ever came back. It comes back to video. It's like, it's not either way. Yeah. The point is text, voice, and what I was going to say is language. There's over 50 languages built in. So now, not only can you connect with people in the most highest engaged mediums, which is written in voice, you could do that in any language.
How does that work? How does the language part work? Like do I have to go to a person's clone and say, I speak Japanese? in English and then it translates? Like, how does this work? Yeah.
That's what's cool is like all this stuff is extremely seamless and dynamic. It's like the whole heart of what Delphi is, which is the person's like they could start in English and then switch over to Japanese or Spanish all in the same conversation and it'll adapt. I mean, you probably don't want to like, yeah, I mean, it adapts really well and you can see it in the written and also in the voice. You probably may, I don't know. I actually haven't tried like multiple languages in one thing, but you are like over four because I don't know that much. But the thing is, it's dynamically, you don't have to prompt it and say, hey, I want to hear this in Japanese now. You can if you wanted to, but it's dynamic. It's just a simple, it's like if you were just chatting with someone that knew multiple languages and they would be able to
So
adapt.
if I went to a clone
Yeah.
and let's say my native language was Spanish
Yeah.
and I asked Arnold a question in Spanish, Delphi would identify that I was speaking in Spanish and respond as Arnold in Spanish.
In his tone and voice and the sound of his voice. Yeah.
Which is crazy. And
Yeah.
then there's also I know there's also a drop down next to the clones. And so you could do that if you wanted to, but it's as simple as just going in, speaking your native language, and Delphi's going to pick that up
Yeah.
and respond in the right way.
That's it. That blows
Yeah.
people away. And then if you start thinking about it now, I was just chatting with a new client of ours. He helps people to just get over anxiety and their nervous system dysregulation. And he was saying how there's so much untapped audience that come to him because of his YouTube channel, and he gets millions of people. He has millions of subscribers, but he gets something like 200 DMs a day. And he's like, I cannot talk to everyone. And for one, they're in different languages, and he can't support them. Unfortunately, and he wants to, and that's literally why he came to us. He's like, I want to make a clone that can live to support these folks because I know I can't. You know, not only am I a bottleneck to answer all these questions and these DMs, but I actually want to help these people. And
Yeah.
you know, if I have one that's in all these languages and can actually talk and speak at any time of the day in any language, then heck yeah, that's a like that blew his mind when we were talking about that. He was like, this will revolutionize everything I do and help exponentially more people.
You know, we're also to piggyback on that. We're working with a very popular use case for this product has been pastors
Yeah.
and religious denominations. And so, for example, there's one. There's one that we're working with right now, and we're under NDA, so we can't say who it is. But I think we can give this example that this particular area has lots of people in it, hundreds of thousands of people that this one particular church serves, and the person who oversees everything gets the same question, just like you were saying, over and over and over again.
Yep.
To the point where he's told us if he wanted to, he could just stop doing his job and just sit there and answer questions that come in through email or coming through text or wherever they're coming in from. And so what we did is we built a clone and we trained it on millions of words. And it included scripture, it included stuff about that particular location, and it included personal messages from the person that oversaw that particular church. And then we tested it about a month ago with a bunch of people that were part of this group, and they couldn't stop laughing. Because remember, because they were having a conversation with this person, and it sounded so dead on. And if the person had a question about scripture, it would answer that. If they had a question about what's going on this Sunday, it would answer that. Like, it was amazing. And so, I mean, an AI clone, when used correctly, can be such a great time saver. And it's like the lowest hanging fruit use case for AI. We're going to eliminate repetitive tasks.
That's the biggest. That's actually, so I just want to talk about, like why are we so excited about it? It's because of the repetitive tasks, but it's not to replace the human. Like that's the big thing that and I know a lot of people are fearful for AI to essentially take all your jobs and do all these things, and who knows? But I think it will reshape how we're all, working, how we connect with people, and all that. But the thesis that I've always had since finding Delphi a few years ago, and being the first user, didn't know that at the time. Yeah,
Mhm.
but is this fact I wanted this two-way conversation that allowed for more engagement. It's a completely new media that has not existed before,
Yeah.
where you can replicate yourself and the way you think and even decisions, all these things that take your mental power, and it's taxing. I mean, like, we only have so much time and energy ourselves. And sure, yeah, we can automate processes and do all this stuff, but an AI agent isn't going to think like you. It's not
Mhm.
going to mull over the millions of words or even hundreds of thousands of words you might have that you've taken time to say, okay, this is how I think and this is my material that I put time and thought into. And now I trust it along with some instructions and guardrails and guidelines that we give it to communicate to
Yeah.
anyone in the world
Yeah.
because they can adapt. And I genuinely feel like this new form of communication, it's a new form of media, just like, blogs, podcasts, emails, all this stuff. This is
Mm.
in addition. It's not a replacement because it syncs up with all that stuff. And when you have a clone, now you just know that you have this whole nother entity of yourself, a digital twin that can communicate. And it's just up to us to figure out, and collectively, where does this thing live? Who is it going to
Yeah.
serve? How does it give you the biggest benefit? And just know that you're going to, through more engagement and interaction, it'll bring the right people to your doorstep without any extra effort on your part. Yeah.
And I think that that's the place where we probably add the most value
Hmm.
is when we're working with our clients is really helping them to identify, understand what problems they want to solve in their business.
Absolutely.
And then we're able to adapt the clone to that particular use case. And what we find is a lot of the time people come to us and they're like, hey, I have a friend that's doing this, or they're doing that, or they're using a clone this way, or I've interacted with a clone. I think this would be really cool. And they have all these different ideas. And so what we always do is we always try and get them to focus on one thing. Let's
Hmm.
focus on one thing to start. Let's train the model with all of your data. Let's get it right. Let's get your voice right. Make sure that it's talking like your brand and in your style and all that kind of stuff. Let's make sure that it's referencing all the right things. Let's nail that first use case. We usually try and start with what we think is the simplest problem
Yeah,
to solve, and then we move on to the next.
that's right.
And we have clients that we've been working with, for the past couple of years that, there's 6, 7, 8 different use cases in their company that they're using a clone for.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's really awesome. But it didn't start with 6, 7, or 8 use cases at once. It started with the simplest first case, and
Yeah.
then we went from there.
Yeah. So I'll describe how we kind of think through it and how we get someone
Yeah,
launched
yeah,
and
yeah.
live really fast because our goal is always to get someone live with a clone within 7 days.
Mhm.
And there's of
Which
course
which
fact.
is a, which wait, I just want to highlight that because I think that's really important. I
Yeah.
think with all the stuff that a clone is able to do and all the content that we may be uploading and things like that, there's a misperception that people have that this is going to take me 30, 60, 90 days to do.
Right.
And what we used to find was the biggest thing that kept people from saying yes and testing a clone was this feeling of overwhelm.
Hmm.
Like, sounds like so much work. And so what I'd love you to do, Joe, is dispel that by sharing with people how we do this and how we onboard. Now, again, we've done this so many times. If you're trying to do this alone, it might be a little different, but share how we do it and let
Yeah.
that be kind of a guide for people.
So this is one of the biggest things that people come to us with, thinking that building a clone, a digital twin, is just going to take a ton of time, a lot of resources, a
Yeah.
lot of effort, and it does not have to be that way. So the first place we start with someone is to give them an audit. So we offer a free audit at thecloneshop.ai, and there's a way to basically we will take what we can see about your business. We'll ask you a couple questions to see like where your head is, like what do you want to scale? What's your bottleneck? Those types of things. And there's kind of like four buckets we like to focus on initially. And there's the public version of your clone. So that's like the front facing on your website, it's public. there's multiple use cases there. So we'll talk through and we can outline what all this is. But the public facing, then there's this kind of private client or customer facing version. That's a whole nother use case bucket of things that a clone could be used for. Internal team, that's another one. And then you can have a private. So these are kind of like the four buckets we like to play in. So the audit essentially maps out what's possible based on the structure of where a clone can live, and also accounting for, all right, what are the current bottlenecks right now of your business? Where do you feel like you want to scale yourself to maybe eliminate bottlenecks or just scale ROI, time, whatever it is, reduce costs. So with all this information, yeah, we come up with this audit, which I think is pretty cool because I always get blown away when I see the results, because like we're basically compiling a bunch of information. We have some really cool ways to generate this, and then we present that to folks on a call, and that's the strategy. So we're walking through and saying like, hey, all right, does this align? Let's walk through this along with what we get more information, but we actually basically sync up and figure out what's the first one to start with. So what's the first use case? Sometimes it's the simplest, but sometimes it's not. But what we want to do in 7 days is to create a foundational model for the clone that allows for us and also them. So there's always like, I always tell folks like, hey, think of a beta group user, like testers that can test this very early on. And that's usually, it's them, it's sometimes their family and their team, it could be some customers, like so they're VIPs. So you have a beta test group in mind, knowing that in 7 days, we're going to have this very first version, minimum viable clone, MVC. I just made that up. And that is going to be trained on your content. So by that point, we would have accumulated whatever content you feel like is necessary to get your voice and kind of get the conversation going. But then at that phase, we want to start poking holes in this thing. Like, it's technically at that phase, it could be pushed live. So a lot of people do. But during the testing and feedback phase, what we're doing is we're seeing how it answers. We're seeing where are the gaps. What can we fill in? What's extra content maybe that needs to answer these set of questions? If anything needs to be reworded, or if it's not directing people to the right place, we'll fill in that gap. It's all very straightforward. We've done it a lot. But that's kind of where it starts, is like, let's figure out the audit. Let's talk through it. Let's identify the use case. Let's gather the materials that we need to build this initially. And then that's where our team goes to town and starts to, build all the different instructions, the guardrails, the speaking style, the voice. And then we kind of set it free where we're all testing. We kind of have this big, it's a handful of days where we're doing the testing, the client and their team doing it. And then honestly, within 7 days or so, right in that period, most people are pushing live in whatever that thing is. They know it might not be it's not going to be the end game. So from that point, we're still optimizing and getting feedback from people, just probably throwing some crazy curveballs to it, which is always fun. But that's the process. And it starts with really identifying where do we start and then where can we expand to.
And then once we've gone through that process and we've got somebody out 7 days later, then what typically happens over the next month?
So that's where we're always educating clients every single time. So throughout the process, we want to make sure that we're not just holding wool over people's eyes and, like, oh, it's a magic box. Like, we want them to be confident in knowing, all right, this is how it's working. We're not expecting people to get their hands dirty unless they want to. Some people do.
And if I can jump in on there, I would just remind people, or just share that we have a customer success hub. So when you become a client of ours, we share with you a hub that takes you through each step of the process. It shares with you in each step what it is that we need, what we'll be doing with all of that stuff, what kinds of things create delays, and then FAQs, all of the most common questions we get asked during that phase. And we have video that helps take you through that first, second, third step also. So to your point, Joe, we are constantly trying to educate people and keep them in the loop. We don't want anything to be a mystery. We want to work together as partners. And I think that's why, over time, the clones that we've worked on have become so successful.
Yeah. there's clarity there, and
Yeah.
that's what we want to start, and that's where we always lead from the very beginning in this kind of preparation phase, is like showing the whole timeline. Like, here's
Yeah.
what we're going to be doing, and typically we're working with folks for the span of a year, and a lot of people will want that attention because over that span of a year, not only are we building out that 7 day to launch version. That's probably the most intense part because we are gathering materials. We're
Mhm.
just learning about your business. So it's an exchange. It's definitely it's a conversation that we have as humans, so we can then put that into the clone box, Delphi. But let's just say after the building and we get to testing, now we want to help you launch it. So like, let's figure out where is this going to integrate into. If it's going to be the public, it's on your website, maybe a landing page. If it's for your team or your customers, let's just figure out where it lives, because this clone, it can be embedded anywhere. That's a very common question as well. Is it's HTML iframe code that can get dropped into pretty much anywhere, even on apps as well,
Mhm.
private or public. So what we're doing is we're figuring out how do we best integrate this where not only in the website, but also in other existing systems. So there could be
Mhm.
a CRM, like a lot of people are on Go High Level. There's other
Mhm.
CRMs like, Kit, there's Keep, there's all, all of them. And
Mhm.
some natively integrate, others you'll basically push to a API or webhook. And if you don't know what that is, that's okay. Basically, you can have the Delphi system that will, and we'll have to talk about how it works as a customer journey as well. But basically, anyone who uses your Delphi can then get integrated into other systems that you can do follow-ups with.
Mhm.
And that's why, again, it's this engagement machine. Yeah.
Maybe this is a good time to ask, because I was going to ask you in just a little bit
Yeah.
about actions. So
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the really, I think one of the biggest benefits of working with the Delphi tool. I mean, again, we're at the early stages of consumer AI,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
And so we know that these bigger foundational models work. There's a lot of really cool marketing and sales products that work, and they're kind of out of the box. But we're still in a place with like cloning where a lot
Yeah.
of people are trying to create these like custom one-off types of things.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much value to being able to just go to a site, go to your phone, whatever, download something, sign up, and just have it work.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that's amazing about what Delphi has done is to help just make it work. They've built what they call actions, which are similar to integrations like you get with a Zapier or a Make, or like what you were just talking about.
Yeah.
Can you talk about two or three of the most popular automatic built into Delphi integrations that people
Yeah.
use?
I would say the biggest one is a little you can send a welcome message basically after someone starts a conversation with your Delphi clone. They will be asked to opt in or basically give their email address to get a customized experience, a conversation. Similar to ChatGPT, we're all used to, okay, or Gemini or wherever, Grok, you're going to upload or you're going to sign in. Typically, it should keep you signed in on that device. But
Mhm.
now, when you have these conversations, it's going to keep a record of your conversations. On the left-hand side, you could see a little pull down of all the threads that you've opened up. You could start a new one. Just like ChatGPT, you would basically a conversation will keep the most amount of memory in that. But Delphi, what it's doing is it is learning about that person the more they chat with it. So it's holding this little mini memory of each person. So then if they follow up in the next week or month and they're still logged in with the same account, it's going to have that memory of the previous conversations and some specifics as well.
So one of the built-in actions is this memory, this ability to have a one-on-one conversation with someone that comes and signs in and interacts
Yeah.
with the clone.
Well, the actions will come after actually. So
Yeah.
like I'm kind of setting the stage a little bit, but is so the idea is that now Delphi almost acts like a CRM of sorts. Like it's actually keeping record of the people who are interacting.
Mhm.
And then, like you said, actions are kind of like Zapier, Make.com, or N8N, all these automation layers built into Delphi. A few of the most common ones are this recap or let's say a welcome message. So right when someone has a chat, you can create an action that says, okay, when this conversation ends, send them an email. that basically says, hey, thanks for using the Scott clone. I was really excited when we chatted about X. And that piece, basically, this is a prompt in Delphi. It can pull the topic of what they talked about or the general theme. So it's customized. So you're sending a unique an email to these people to basically welcome them and then invite them back to keep chatting. So welcome message is a big one. An inactivity nudge is another one. I think that's a really good one because it could be sent, let's say, 3 days or a week after and say, hey, Jim, remember we were chatting about that thing, you're looking to raise some money or whatever it is, it's like, how's that going? Do you have any other questions? Come on back and let's chat about this thing. And you can even give them like a prompt to come back and ask you more about, or even give them a call to action if you wanted to, to like, hey, I have a free guide, go here and go explore some more. So that's like an inactivity nudge example.
And all this is out of the box.
All out of the box. Yes. Yeah. It's all built into Delphi. Another one I would say is I'm starting to use this more now, but like a summary recap of a conversation. It's like, I'm sure we've all been there. We go to Gemini or ChatGPT and we have this big long chat. But then, the next day or the next week, we kind of just forgot about what we talked about. And that maybe was like kind of brilliant. We had some big aha moments, but we didn't know, we don't remember where that's at or how to find it. But what you can do is in the actions as well, built into Delphi out of the box, you could say, hey, send a recap. Maybe it's a weekly recap of all the conversations or what this person's chatted about and send it to them. Or maybe you just send it to yourself. Like you can, if it's a private conversation with your own Delphi, you can just set up a personal action and say, hey, here's an email outlining exactly what I talked about, maybe some next steps. So now it becomes action oriented. You're not just talking to talk, but there's purpose behind it.
It's such an awesome feature. And you were just talking about recapping for yourself. So I want to shift gears for a second because one of the ways, and this has really surprised me, probably more than anything since I've been in this cloning space with you, is the way people use their own clones to help themselves.
Yes.
So, for example, we have a really famous high-profile speaker that is on the road all year, and they're on a zillion different stages. And one of the things that they shared with us is that sometimes they'll go to an event, and the person who's hosting the event will say to them, hey, I love it. Like, I'm feeling the audience out, and I love it if you talk on this while you're up there. And so what that trainer is doing is they're actually going back to their Delphi and they're asking their Delphi how they would answer this question or speak to this thing. And what it's doing is it's just giving them a quick refresh on something that in this case of the conversation we had, the person just hadn't talked about this stuff for a long time.
Right.
And so they wanted to make sure that they just got like they didn't have a book with them. They didn't want to go search. They literally just called their Delphi and talked to themselves about what the thing was. And then they were ready to go on stage. Yeah. And so people are using it. Like, Joe, how else are people using a Delphi, their own Delphi, to help themselves?
So let's break that down really fast on how it works. But how a few ways, like that's a perfect one where it's almost like, all right, I'm in this situation. I'm about to have it. And I've definitely done this myself too. Is right before a chat, right before a podcast episode. Just meeting someone for the first time. Maybe it's a client in a specific space. I can go to my Delphi, or anyone who has a Delphi can go to their own. And the way it works is like, if you use your admin email, it's going to know you're the admin. So you have this kind of overall access, because there's ways to gate content. Maybe we'll get into that. But if you're on the top level, you see it all. And it's going to know that, hey, okay, you're the owner of this Delphi. You are the cloned person. So what you could do is literally just have some chats with it. Like, I'll just go outside and start walking and talking to myself. It's a little weird sometimes, but it's epic because you literally can put yourself in any situation. Because, like, let's say I'm like the speaker, they're going to go talk to this real estate audience, we'll say, but they are a mindset trainer. I'm just making some stuff up here. as that clone person, all of your stuff has been trained into your digital mind. So, it could be books that you've written 20 years ago, or like some random blog post or podcast that you put out there that you just don't remember. Because I certainly don't remember the 700 I've published or so. Yeah, but it knows. Like, so Delphi has this retrieval system behind the scenes. It's basically this massive neural network that they've just like completely recreated from the ground up. Since they first started, they just like released this just months ago. And it's going to have a really good picture of all of your IP, all of your brain and its memories, and be able to connect the dots to whatever prompt you give it. Just like ChatGPT, you could prompt your Delphi, your personal Delphi, with a very simple prompt or a conversation, or like an elaborate prompt. Just depends on how ninja you are, with this kind of stuff. But then it's going to give you a response of exactly what you need based on your own content. So it's like, hey, let's take that mindset content that you specialize in and apply it to real estate folks. And here's exactly how you angle it. Here are the topics. Here's your presentation slide outline if you wanted to make that. I mean, I just used Delphi to write the majority of my book recently. Like so some of the other use cases, yeah, like writing books. That's a common one. I know a handful of our clients that just recently wrote multiple books with their Delphis in a weekend, and which still blows my mind because I mean it's a lot of work still to assemble but the fact is, it knows your content, and as long as you prompt it and you structure it in the right, like you just ask it the right way, it's going to give you the output you're looking for, and better than ChatGPT could ever do. Because again, it's just ChatGPT and these other ones are going to pull information from everywhere online, not your stuff. A few other things like blog posts, emails. Let's see. I just like it for thinking through things clear. Like that's probably the biggest one.
Blog posts. Can you share an example of how someone is using their Delphi clone to write their blog post for them?
I've done it a lot on my podcast. I'll just say that that's the easiest top of mind one. So at Hustle and Flowchart, that's the show I've had for 8+ years now, and 700+ episodes in. Every episode gets trained into the my clone. So then my team will go to the clone, and they have a prompt they use all the time. But essentially, it's, hey, here's the new episode. Around this topic. Maybe it's the title or with this guest. Write out a blog post for me or a show notes page and kind of have this structure to it. Like you can give it structure and then it's going to fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
And so that's one there. I know there's a lot of folks there's just a lot of clients that are using that as a way to put online. Email newsletters is another one. All these different things that you can just imagine. It's a content generation, social media posts. These are things that, again, my team uses for myself. We'll probably honestly be using it for some of our clone shop material as well. Might as well. And I mean, now I'm so open to say like, hey, yeah, AI certainly helped assemble my content. I mean, it helped me prep for some of this. It helps me prepare for a lot of things because I know, again, if I have the structure, it knows my IP, and then it's going to give me great answers. So,
it's so funny because a year ago, 6 months ago, if I asked somebody, hey, did you use AI to prepare for this or help you to write for that or whatever the case may be, they might say yes, but they kind of have their hand over. It's almost like it's something you're not supposed to do. Right. And now if I ask the same person that question, it's of course I did. Why wouldn't I use it to help me? Yeah. Why wouldn't I use it to help do research? Why wouldn't I use it to help frame an argument or frame a chapter or frame a speech or whatever it is? Yeah. It's an incredible tool. And I just kind of circling back, I think that AI cloning is one of the simplest, lowest hanging ways to really start using AI in a way that you have immediate ROI.
It's meaningful. Yes.
It's really meaningful. You can increase, you can open up your time, you can expand your audience, you can increase your revenue, you can eliminate repetitive tasks, You can do things like write blog articles, or you can use it to help make you sharp before you go and you do like, there's so many different ways that you can use it.
Yeah.
And we can have it live in 7 days. You don't have to overthink it. And you don't have to try and figure out how it works, because we do all of that for you.
And a big thing I want to say is a lot of folks will rush to automation. Like if they're new to AI, I think a lot of folks just imagine, A, it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of money. Those are probably the biggest ones. B, where's my data going? Like how does this work? Which hopefully we're dispelling a lot of that in
Yeah.
the clone shop videos here we're doing. But at the same time, a lot of folks rush to try to automate everything. And I don't think that's the way. Like I
Mm.
never have thought that's the way, even before I was early into cloning. But like when you rush to automate things, I mean, you're immediately kind of taking away the personal touch of whatever your business is or what you do that's unique.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you start to automate everything, I mean, very quickly you'll probably see most of the outputs are going to be very generalized, very cookie cutter, same as most people that might be putting AI slop out there,
Yeah.
which was the what's the dictionary? It was the word of the year of 2025 is slop. SLOP. I mean, it's like, so don't just put AI slop out there. I think that's where automation and like a lot of people who are doing the digital twins,
Yeah.
Hagen style, just throwing stuff out there and just calling it their own thinking. With cloning it's completely different because it's meaningful. I feel like this is a way where now you can sync it right into what you're already doing well in your business.
Yeah.
You can place it right before or after, let's say someone wants to book a call with you. Like that's a cool one because
Yeah.
now people can have a pre-chat with AI version of you before they hop on a call, or maybe it helps pre-qualify before they even can book a time with you.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's one that anybody can use a clone for off the streets. Like you don't need much content for that. Yeah,
Well, in 2025, I think that, the buzzword was agents, right?
right,
And
that too.
agentic AI. And
Yeah.
I know so many people that spent a lot of money building agents that never worked. They never did
Mhm.
anything. Thousands and thousands of dollars, some hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to build these agents throughout their bigger companies, and nothing worked.
Mm.
And the thing about working on a clone and using an out of the box product like Delphi that you don't have to build. All we need is your data to train it. It's going to be for a fraction of the cost. It works. The biggest brands and companies, personal brands and businesses in the world are using it,
Yep.
and we can have immediate impact for you within 7 days. So it's just it's different. I really think, I saw these predictions.
Yeah.
Joe and I are filming this here at the beginning of January. I saw all these predictions around New Year's about kind of like what 2026 is going to be all about, with in AI. And nobody mentioned what I think is probably the most relevant thing for this year, which is I think people are just going to want to use practical things that have already been proven to work.
Yes.
They don't
Yeah.
want to waste a lot of time building or rolling up their sleeves and getting into the tech in the weeds.
Yep.
They want to buy things that are out of the box. Now, even though something's out of the box, doesn't necessarily mean that it makes sense for you to go set it up yourself. Right. So, what we always say, what Delphi, always says is kind of building a clone in the right way is an art. We've got the platform and the tools and it all works. But there's kind of like an art and a science, I think, behind making it really work, and really, particularly from a branding standpoint, like really make it flow.
I agree. And it's like, how can you expect to automate a human, and all the
Yeah,
different
yeah, yeah,
nuances that bring out the humanness of us. Like,
yeah,
again, that's, yeah, out of the box it's great because it gives us a starting point. And like you said, Delphi has done, I mean, since day one when I found them, I knew Dara, the co-founder, he wanted this thing he wanted to build the platform in a way where it helped create a digital mind, like literally replicate the way someone thinks. And to this day, it's just getting better and better. Like I said, they've rebuilt
yeah,
things. There's a time and place, but there's a layer above. Like the way I see cloning is you have your foundational layer, you have OpenAI, you have Anthropic, Google stuff, and Grok and all that. That's what's powering things, and
Yeah.
there's an all-out war happening right now,
Yeah.
with that, and it's interesting, it's exciting, and frightening in some cases, but but what Delphi is a layer above that. It's part of, I feel like, this infrastructure, but it's siloed. It's
Mhm.
I think not a lot of people understand that, but that's where your own personal data can live. You have the world's data below, but then you have yours above that as Delphi, your
Yeah.
digital twin clone. And then above that has this automation layer. So yes, some of the actions are built into Delphi that helps automate, your mind. But
Mhm.
then if you did want to get tricky, there are ways to even automate further and maybe
Yeah.
create even more tricky automations. And there's things like I mentioned, pushing to webhooks. If you're a lot of people are starting to get techie enough, or they're learning the jargon. So I think it's relevant, even though it's a later thing for most. That's something where you can even pull out more insights out of these conversations. You can maybe automate your email sequences to trigger based on
Mhm.
tags of people coming through. Um, but then, like, a whole nother layer above that are agents, I feel like, or like I feel like that comes further out. Those are like business operations and stuff like that. Um, but again, like the most practical and the useful human thing is get yourself cloned first, because
Yeah.
it's like that you are typically the biggest bottleneck in your whole operation, and it's not the doing of things, because I feel like we're all working our asses off and we're spending a lot of time at least thinking and doing. I think there's a knowledge bottleneck that we have in the world right now, and the ability to share that knowledge with people
Mhm.
in a dynamic way, in any language, in the modalities that they choose to hear things and take action upon. That's, I think, the biggest bottleneck that gets solved this year in 2026. I mean, that's my prediction, at least, is like this is the year of cloning.
We'll take it.
And yeah, it might not be mainstream yet, but this is why we're talking about it, right?
I just want to say, as we're wrapping up here, it was so fun to do that. We haven't done this before.
Right.
And to think that we're gonna start making daily content that'll be available on LinkedIn and YouTube. And where can people find that, Joe?
Yeah. So I would say, for the daily stuff, because you might be watching on YouTube or
Mhm.
podcasts right now, which is great because we're going to publish a lot there. We'll do more of these sessions. But if you want to really stay up to date with daily content, like we're putting a big push out there, go to LinkedIn. Like, go find me, Joe Fier, on LinkedIn. You can
Yeah,
look up Scott Duffy as well. We're going to be kind of cross sharing and all that. The
yeah.
Clone Shop is also on LinkedIn. So go follow that. And shoot, we'll probably have a newsletter there pretty soon too. We're developing
Our
some other
website.
things in print. Yep, the website is thecloneshop.ai, and you'll see there's going to be an option for you to get the free audit as well on there. So if you're ready to jump and chat with us and see a personalized, customized view of how a clone can help you scale, that's the place to go. Is thecloneshop.ai. So expect more to come, and please ask us in the comments here or on LinkedIn. Send us DMs or messages.
Mhm.
What are your burning questions based on
Mhm.
cloning? Like, what are your thoughts, concerns, anything? Like,
Yeah.
we'll make the content, but we'll also chat with you as well. And also, shoot, I didn't even say this, on the website and all the places, you're gonna find our clones as well, so you can
Mhm.
chat with them, and that could be the first way to start chatting with us. So,
Awesome. Yeah.
I'm excited. Thanks, Scott. This is great.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
See y'all.